Yo, people, Tutu Reviews here, and today I'm going to be talking about the final episode of Invincible Season 2. Now, the reason I'm going to be talking about that episode is just because it's phenomenal. Me personally, when I watch shows, when I watch series, I want to be emotionally tortured. I want to be ripped apart and put back together. And I feel like it does that perfectly, man. So in that episode, as you know, if you haven't seen it, there's spoilers ahead. Angstrom turns up at Mark's house. He turns up at Mark's house and does dastardly things. And it actually reminds me, if you guys have read or seen Batman, The Killing Joke. If you guys have read Batman, The Killing Joke, it reminds me of that, where it's like, what is your worst day and what can it make you become? And I feel like it tells that story so well. If you think about the concept of it, Angstrom, for as far as Invincible, remember, Mark can't even remember who this guy is. On the day that he went there to be a good guy. It all went left and Angstrom ended up ugly, which is basically the reason why he's mad. No, I'm joking. Mark went there to be the good guy. He doesn't even know. And he was pushed so far that he himself felt like he had become the bad guy. And I feel like over the course of Invincible, he loses a lot of fights. He gets put in a lot of situations that he can't manage. And I feel like that episode is sort of a curve where he now becomes, he can see that his full potential is a lot further than what it was previously because he was pushed there. And I feel like that will be the next step in his growth. And it's, and as horrible as it was, it's kind of nice to see, okay, there's the darker side. That's what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting for in all those fights. So I thought that was incredible. I think one of the amazing themes in it is how much, you know, he is afraid and he's facing his fears. And that fear is that he's going to be like his dad. And if he gets pushed too far, wow, I actually have all this strength. I have all these powers and I'm going to be like my dad. And that's scary for us to watch. And, you know, Angstrom is horrible in that episode. He is horrible, but to he himself, he's the good guy. And Invincible is the bad guy. And, you know, and I felt it was nice that they put a collage together of all those different Invincibles from all those different dimensions, because it gives you that feeling like, oh yeah, to him, this is a horrible person who actually took over the world, which was obviously what Omni-Man and Invincible wanted to do. And it shows you when he does get pushed that far, what it could actually be. So it kind of makes you, okay, Angstrom is that this is what he's seeing. He's putting them all together. He's not even fighting the right person. You know, he's not fighting the evil Invincible, but he's put them all together and he's put them into the Mark Grayson that we know, which I thought was great. And you know, it draws you in emotionally. It blew my mind as well how actually evil they made Mark in all those dimensions. It's like, whoa, this is insane. Speaking of the dimensions, quickly, I'm pivoting a little bit here, but I liked the creativity as well when they had Mark going in all the different dimensions and they had the little Batman joke. Speaking of Batman, The Killing Joke, they had the arachnid or whatever he was called, the fake Spider-Man with the Dr. Ock, fake Doc Ock. I thought that was cool. They had the dinosaurs that could speak and were like, oh, I didn't know sapiens could speak in here or fly and all this stuff. And I thought that was cool. So that was really creative. But back to the heart-wrenchingness of just pulling Mark through all these different things. I thought there was a few bits of dialogue that I thought were really powerful, really impactful. For example, when Angstrom is with Mark's mum and he's basically saying, you know, you don't know, like, your son is evil. And she's like, I know my son. I raised this son. The son I raised, he's nothing like that. My son is not a killer. And he's like, are you sure about that? To, at the end of the episode, then beating Angstrom to a pop. And I feel like that little bit of dialogue was nice because it comes full circle, isn't it? He's not a killer, but this is the point of the episode. He can be pushed there, and this is what he's capable of when he is pushed there. So that was incredible. I like, you know, as you know, every good villain should not think of themselves as the villain. They should think of themselves as the hero. And I like that when he breaks Mark's mum's arm, which is awful, by the way, honestly, it's awful. But he says, I'm not the villain. Like, he believes. And obviously they showed the evil Mark and then they showed him breaking the mum's arm and saying, I'm not the villain. So it's like, these are the reasons that he believes himself to be a hero. And even though he sees Mark doing good things, he's so twisted and warped by what happened to him and everything that he's been through and all the different dimensions. He can't even see that this particular Mark isn't the villain, he's the villain, and that's a good villain. So I thought that was powerful. I thought that was impactful. That was a great bit of script. I like when they showed in one of the dimensions that Mark was starting to crack. When he had beaten up all the mod rockers or whoever they were, I don't know who they were. And he says, I told you I'm not in the mood. And he's like topless, I think. I can't even remember. I think he's topless. And he's like, I'm not in the mood. And it's like, yeah. This man is starting to crack. This is exactly what Angstrom was looking for. This man is going mad. And I thought it was just, again, it was just a little bit of like, there's a little bit of dialogue that just tells a great story. It paints a perfect picture. I thought that was sick. I like as well how it goes from, you have no idea how much I've been holding back. That's what Mark says to Angstrom. You have no idea how much I've been holding back. To turn around then after he's killed him and the realization is setting of what he's actually done. And he says, I thought you were stronger. Do you know what I mean? Like those emotions, everything that's come off the back of his strong emotions towards what was taking place is like, oh, actually, I thought you were stronger. Like, what is actually going on here? You know, he snapped in, and I thought those two, again, back to back, if you put them in parallel them, they're very powerful. And he gets into this sort of where he's talking to himself and he's trying to convince himself, you know, like, I had to do that. I had to do that. And you can tell that it's dawning on him where he has been pushed to. Again, sort of like that Batman, the Killing joke, where it's like, what are you capable of on your worst day? Which is a question that any of us could answer. What are you capable of on your worst day? And I thought it was just the perfect representation of that. I think just as the last point, you know, even the way he turned Angstrom into that big head thing, you know, he wanted to be the hero and he turned out to be the villain. And I think that was the point of the episode. Again, that kind of connects to the fact of he came in to save his mum and he ended up brutally murdering Angstrom. And it's like, that's what he did. And it's like a full circle. Like, he came to save Angstrom and he ended up turning him into a monster. He came to save his mum. He ended up turning himself into a monster somewhat. I mean, I agree with what he did, to be honest. He did that to my mum. And I had Invincible's powers. I'll be doing the same thing, but that's another story. I'm not a storyteller. So yeah, I just thought it was really powerful. I thought it was really impactful. I thought it had everything a good show should have. It was emotionally torturous even. As a series, it was one of my top 3 shows this year. And I thought I'll pinpoint that particular episode because I thought the way they put it together, those little bits of dialogue and the story that they were trying to tell were perfect. So that is my thoughts on Invincible Season 2, Episode 8. This is Tutu Reviews, and thank you for watching. Peace.